Alright, UFC 299 O'Malley versus Vera 2 takes place in the main event this weekend, and I'm going to be going through the entire card, starting with the prelims, ending with the main event, giving you guys my full breakdown and predictions. If you guys are wondering who I got for the early prelims, boom, this is who I got. Pretty exciting stuff, and let's just waste no further time and get through this amazing card. Starting off with the first fight and prelim opener of Pedro Munhoz versus Phillips. Now, despite what some people think of Pedro Munhoz's last performances, I actually do see this fight being a lot closer than what some think. Yes, Pedro Munhoz is a crafty vet who's faced nothing but the who's who his whole entire career. But here's the thing, Pedro Munhoz is getting old. He's currently 37 right now, and being that age in the lighter weight classes tends to be a bit difficult hanging with these young and upcoming guys. And yes, Pedro Munhoz has the low kicks in his arsenal, but against a guy like Phillips, who has, in my opinion, some of the best footwork in the division, it's going to be a bit tricky for Munhoz to land those low kicks. I see this fight playing out very similarly to Pedro Munhoz's fight with Dominic Cruz. I see Phillips starting in and out of range, finding his distance, finding his shots, and making Munhoz miss, securing himself a decision win. So Phillips is the pick and gets it done via close decision, 29-28. Moving on to the next fight on the card, Mateusz Gamrot versus RDA. One of my locks here, but before I say who it is, pretty interesting stylistic matchup we got here. Both guys being highly credentialed grapplers in their own respects. And that's where I kind of see the majority of this fight playing out in the ground. I see both guys trying to implement their game plans of trying to out-wrestle each other, which, if that's the case, I think that's where Gamrot gets the win. His wrestling, grappling, and pressure is such a suffocating style to deal with. I've said it multiple times, I think his style, he is basically the lightweight version of Merab, just because of his grappling and pressure. And against a 39-year-old RDA, I kind of question if he can compete and hang with these younger guys. RDA, on his last fight out, coming off a unanimous decision loss to Vicente Luque, and before that, a win over Brian Barbereno. I think Gamrot is a legit contender in the lightweight division. Despite what you say about his wins, he has a win over Arman Tsarukyan, a win over Jailton Turner, and just recently a win over Rafael Fiziev, who just TKO'd RDA. So Gamrot is the pick, a confident pick, and gets it done via dominant decision, 29-28, possibly 30-27. Moving on to the next fight on the card, Katlyn versus Maycee Barber. Gonna make this one real quick. I'm gonna be going with Katlyn to get the win here because hot take, I don't think Maycee Barber is as good as some people, especially the UFC, is making her out to be. I just felt like ever since, and yes, despite being a fun, scrappy fighter, I just think ever since her loss to Alexa Grasso, I don't think she's evolved as a fighter since then. And you're probably thinking to yourself, RNC, what are you talking about? She's currently riding a 5-fight win streak. Are you crazy? It's just the performances that make me think otherwise. She's coming off recent win, Amanda Ribas, finished in the second round. Not bad, but she got brutally dropped in the first and lost the first round. And before that, a split decision win over Andrea Lee. And before that, a win over Jessica Ai and Montella De La Rosas. Good job. Welcome to the club. And before that, a very controversial split decision win over Miranda Maverick. She's just having these very close and competitive fights with these layups. And I know Katlyn is 35, but overall, she's just a better mixed martial artist, better striker, better fighter, and just has the experience on her side. So Katlyn is the pick and gets it done via decision, definite 29-28. We move on to the prelim headliner, Blaydes versus Jailton Almeida. You know what? I'm going to say it. I don't care what anyone thinks. In my opinion, I personally think Curtis Blaydes' wrestling is beyond overrated in recent time. Now, before I say who wins this fight, both these guys share common opponents in their careers, that being Derek Lewis and Jairzinho Rozenstruik, and their performances against those two paints the narrative of who I think is going to win this fight. In his fight with Derek Lewis, Curtis Blaydes was having little to no success landing takedowns on him, and when he did, he got brutally KO'd in the second round. Almeida, on the other hand, landed easy takedowns on Derek Lewis and controlled him in the duration of 5 rounds. Now, Curtis Blaydes did find some success against Jairzinho Rozenstruik, but unfortunately wasn't able to find the submission on the ground. Almeida, on the other hand, took Jairzinho Rozenstruik down quite easily and latched himself a submission in the first round. Curtis Blaydes is coming off a brutal KO loss to Sergey Pavlovich, and Jailton Almeida is currently riding a 7-fight win streak. I'm going to be going, if it's not clear enough, Almeida is the pick. He's fast, he's powerful, he's explosive, riding really good momentum, and I think he gets the win here. I think he's going to out-grapple Blaydes and latch himself a submission in the later rounds. We move on to the opener of the main card, Petr Yan versus Song Yadong. Very close fight, very tough fight to call here, but before I explain who I think is going to win, let's break this fight down real quick. Both guys, I think the winner of this fight overall will be determined on who's going to pressure who. Both guys are heavy pressure fighters, and Petr Yan is known for his relentless pressure and technical striking and will look to impose his game plan against Yadong. However, Yadong's speed, versatility, and defense should be a difficult challenge against Yan. Now, Yan is a dangerous boxer and will most likely look to outbox Yadong, but I truly believe the speed, power, and defensive skills of Yadong to get the win. Yadong is training at a very good gym with Uriah Faber, riding a very good win streak, and Yan is currently on a 3-fight L-skid. Now, I know I see a lot of people saying this could be a potential bounce back for Yan, but this fight's going to be 15 minutes. Both guys can go the full 25, so I do see Song starting at a very high pace right off the bat. Yan takes normally a decent amount of time, takes off the first round and downloads the data, but again, you can't be doing that against a guy like Song because he is very fast, very powerful, and very explosive. It's a very tough fight to call here, but I am going to be going with Song Yadong getting it done via close decision, possibly even a split decision win. Moving on to the next fight on the main card, Gilbert Burns versus Jack Della Maddalena. So, it's the old vet taking on the young prospect. I'm really looking forward to this fight in the welterweight division, both guys being very good in their own respects. Gilbert Burns being a formidable opponent with a background in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, carrying somewhat decent striking skills on the feet. But despite all his impressive skills, Gilbert Burns has been showing some wear and tear in his recent career, especially after that 3-round war against Khamzat Chimaev. It's a bit concerning, especially for his age. He's getting a bit old. He's currently 37, and that durability, man, it's a bit questionable, especially against a very, very heavy-handed dude in JDM. Now, a lot of people in this fight are going to be solely picking Gilbert Burns because of the grappling, but I honestly think JDM has improved his grappling since his last 2 fights. Now, JDM has been training with Craig Jones, who is one of the best jiu-jitsu practitioners in the world and has submitted Gilbert Burns before in a flow grappling tournament. Look, I like Gilbert. I like Gilbert a lot. For crying out loud, I got a picture with the guy. But in this fight game, I don't do picks with my heart. I do picks with my mind. And my mind is telling me that Jack Della Maddalena gets it done via second round TKO. Moving on to the feature fight of the main card, Kevin Holland versus Michael Venom Page. Another fight I'm looking forward to in the welterweight division, and finally, the long-awaited UFC debut for MVP. Both guys are elusive and unorthodox on the feet, so this is going to be a bit interesting. Now, I do believe MVP is going to be a bit tricky for Holland, especially with his feints and low calf kicks. Now, despite Holland being a good fighter, he has atrocious footwork for a guy his frame, and one of the main reasons why I'm actually picking against him is his mental game. Just recently, Holland's been having these recent tendencies of making up these pre-built up coping excuses after a tough loss. He was doing this after his loss to Wonderboy, and just recently he was doing this after his loss against JDM. It's, again, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. And it's just different because whenever he faced off against someone he knows he could beat, like a Tim Means or a Santiago Ponzinibbio, different energy. But whenever he faces off against a very tough opponent, he has these pre-built up coping excuses, which I don't like that at all. I think MVP is going to soften up the legs and win this fight via dominant decision, 29-28, maybe even securing a 30-27. We move on to the co-main event, Dustin Poirier versus Benoit Saint-Denis. Wow, what an explosive co-main event we got here, and I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm going to be going with Benoit Saint-Denis to get it done via brutal finish. I purely think this fight is a stylistic nightmare for Poirier. Now, I don't want to discard Poirier's chances of winning because he can, but I just prefer Saint-Denis' chances a lot more. Poirier does have a chance to either knock him out or beat him by decision, but Saint-Denis has loads of options. He can beat him by knocking him out, he can beat him on the ground, or he can beat him by decision. I just prefer his chances a lot more than Poirier's, but Poirier is coming off a devastating KO, head kick KO loss to Justin Gaethje, and Benoit Saint-Denis has been on a roll in the lightweight division. I think he's on a 4 or 5 win streak and is coming off a brutal head kick KO win over Matt Vervola. Now, rhetorical question. What makes Benoit Saint-Denis very dangerous besides his striking and his grappling? It's his high kicks and mainly his body kicks. Poirier stands very square in orthodox and southpaw stand, and I think Benoit Saint-Denis is going to rip at the body. I think he's going to beat the fuck out of him in round 1. I think he's going to beat the fuck out of him in round 2, and I think he's going to secure the takedowns in round 3 and dominating it. Yes, Benoit Saint-Denis is the pick and gets it done via third round submission or third round ground and pound TKO. We move on to the main event. The champion, Chookagian O'Malley, facing off against the challenger, Marlon Chito Vera. Very excited for this fight. Very nervous for this fight. Both guys possess very unique skill sets in their own respects and being high-level fighters in the bantamweight division. O'Malley is a flashy striker that moves fast and has pinpoint accuracy and carries very dangerous low kicks in his arsenal. He's facing off against a dangerous guy in Marlon Chito Vera that carries devastating knockout power as well and throws a very relentless pace, gritty fighting style. Now, it's a very tough fight to call here because all through this week I've been pick flipping, but ultimately in this fight I am going to be going with Marlon Chito Vera to get the win here. I do see this fight playing out this. I see O'Malley starting off strong in the beginning rounds. I think he's going to be very dangerous, but if Marlon Chito Vera can weather the storm early on and implement his game plan correctly, I do think the win is very open for him. Now, Marlon Chito Vera is a great fighter, despite what some people think. A lot of people don't think that, but I think he has the chance here. And yeah, that's really about it. I believe in his durability, the pace, the relentless cardio, and overall his mental to get the win over O'Malley. So, Marlon Chito Vera is the pick and gets it done via late rounds TKO or decision and new for Ecuador. All in all, kind of underperformed on last week's card. I went a total record of 7-5. Not my best work, but definitely not my worst. Looking forward to bouncing back with this weekend's card. Thank you guys for watching today's video. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Click the bell notification and follow me on my socials, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace!
Nunca la he visto sonreír. sabes qué es lo que más me gusta de ti?
¿De qué?
Tu sonrisa.